Hello folks, this is Micah coming back with another Foenix dev update. This might be the first one in almost a year. So let's get going. Okay, so what I got today is I want to give you an update on where I am on Lair of the Lich King, do a little demo, and talk a bit more about Foenix, my little Foenix OSF project. First of all, Lair of the Lich King. Okay, so if anyone doesn't know, Lair of the Lich King was my 2020 COVID project. It was is a roguelike game I wrote for the Commodore 128 in 80 column mode. It's kind of my ode to text-based games like Rogue, obviously. It was written in C. There's some assembly routines, especially for the 128, to handle video. And I was on track to sell it in the fall of 2023. Was working on it up through about June. But then something in real life happened and I had to step away from it until basically November. So, but back on track. This is the part of the opening screen for the 128 build. So as of last June, the last update I did, which was actually I think for Commodore Europe group, the plan was to have a Commodore B128 version, which is, if you've seen one of the older videos, it's covered in there. I got the C128 version. I was planning a Foenix A2560K version, and the 2560 is a 68,000 based, I think it's a 6840 Foenix in kind of a keyboard and floppy case reminiscent of, say, a Amiga 600 or something. And I was going to do a F256 Junior and K version. The Junior is a single board and the K is a kind of like an Atari 800 XL style case, and you can see it there. I actually got mine, and I have to say it is a beautiful machine. This photo does not do it justice. But you know, they have all plans. They don't survive contact with first contact with an enemy, so there's a new plan. I took that time off. I still don't have my A2560, so I can't work on it. And so, but I want to do one more thing. So when I was able to come back to working on the project in November, I started on an Amiga version, which was one of my possible targets anyway from before. I'm targeting OS 1.3, which is the kind of the oldest practical version, which is what you'd find on an Amiga 1000 because I have one and there's a little community of us. And a game like Lair of the Lich King is not super graphically intensive, and you should be able to squeeze it on there. I mean, it's running on these 8-bit machines, right? Okay, so a couple things about just how I write the game. It's, again, like I said, it's mostly in C. There's a little bit of assembly, and then, of course, there's a variety of little kind of helper scripts and stuff. For the 8-bit stuff, BBEdit, CPP check, the compiler is CC65. I use the Vice emulator and also the Z64K emulator for the 128. That's the only really real way to test VDC stuff on the 128. Vice is not good enough for that. And I use the fantastic level.com for all the Petsky graphic screens you see there. For the 16 and 32-bit ones, it's very similar. It's BBEdit, CPP check, using BBCC for the compiler, and at least for the Amiga, then the UAE emulator and Deluxe Paint 4 and PicCon for graphics, those run on the Amiga. And then Audacity and SOX on my modern computer for the sound effects. Code bases, there's currently 5 distinct ones. There's 128, the B128, the F256, the A2560, and the Amiga. A256, 2560 is kind of theoretical at this point. There's a game, but it's never been tested on real hardware, so I don't know if it'll work. Anyway, let's talk about the 8-bits. The 8-bits are essentially done. They could use some more beta testing, so people have looked at games levels 1 through 3 in the little demo I released, but for both the B and the C128s, and for the Foenix, for the F256. But I think, some of the deeper levels could use some more testing. So, maybe balancing, making some monsters harder. So I'll have to get on that, get some testers, and get them full versions. Unfortunately for my B128, my CBM2 is dead, and I worked quite a lot on it before the break, and I just could not get it going, and I don't think I'm going to be able to do it without a lot of help from people. The most I ever got it to run was about 4 seconds. So I'm not going to be able to make discs for it. So I'll probably just have to distribute, you know, disk images, and people have to burn them themselves if they want to use discs. People with real machines, both CBM2s and B500s, are reporting that it works. So that's good. For the C128 news, I did get recently. I got a Foenix called an FNX 1591. It's a clone of the 1581 3.5-inch drive. So I haven't had one of those in a long time, and that's cool. So now I can make, if you prefer for 128, I can give you a 3.5-inch floppy. And then I'm still not quite sure about the F256. I think I should probably distribute it on an SD card rather than a 3.5-inch floppy, but I do love floppies. But a lot of people don't have, probably don't have a floppy drive for it. So again, any Commodore floppy will work on a F256. Okay, so the Amiga version. Well, and the kind of the 1632-bit one. Let's talk about the 2560K. It's on hold for me. The emulator that's there is just not close enough to, doesn't. I have no idea. It works on there great, but it doesn't even have like keyboard handling. So who knows? So that's just still on hold. But I do think I'm going to get an actual machine fairly soon. I hope. I started the Amiga version at Thanksgiving. It's going really well. It just, like this last week, it got up to be feature equivalent to the 8-bit versions. And now it's time to start editing kind of the cool Amiga feature specific stuff. And you just see a photo I took. And obviously it's got overscan going, and that's a ham mode image. So, great Amiga stuff right there. Pretty good for a 1985 computer. 40,096 colors on the screen at once. So for the Amiga version, my goals for this were to stay true to, it's still a roguelike. I've bending things a little bit in that, it uses some graphics. But I wanted to upgrade the game in ways that, game designers, say 1985, might have done themselves with that first generation. So not like someone would make an RPG now or a JRPG now, but really be like, okay, if you had Rogue, when you were going to Amiga, what might you do? Now, I know there's an actual version that Epic's put out of Rogue for the Amiga, so you can look at that if you want to. Lich King is a roguelike. It's not Rogue. There's nothing in common, really. There's absolutely no code in common, but it's like they're different games. But, if you think of a top-down adventure where you move around and fight monsters, they're similar from that point of view, right? So I think that would include, right, using color graphics, actual graphics instead of kind of custom or even non-custom text, where you just have one color, right? You got the background color and then one foreground color, which is what the B128 and C128 versions do. The B128 version doesn't even have custom text because the computer isn't capable of it. People would want to have sound effects. You'd want to have music. I think Windows is definitely a thing. And, my goal there is to have Windows because that would have been what people were doing and was what people did. But I would still want to keep it so it's, unintrusive, and absolutely in Lich King for the Amiga, you do not need to use a mouse if you don't want to. Even if where there are windows, they have, keyboard shortcuts, like you can dismiss them with an Enter key or an N for no if you don't want the S option. And, I think use all that extra memory where it makes sense and have a little richer, gameplay. So smarter monsters, maybe, kind of a deeper insult engine, stuff like that. Yes, Lich King has an insult engine, and I do look forward to making it more complex and giving, richer insults. Some other goals, which are not really related to that, but I would like to support the Amiga 1000 if at all possible. So that means, first of all, building for Kickstart 1.3, not using any of the 2.0 or later APIs. B, doing some good graceful failures in low memory situations. So, for example, we've got two versions of the music package in there. One is basically twice as big as the other and it has lots of custom samples, and obviously it sounds the best. So we're going to try to load that. If the machine doesn't have enough memory, it's going to try then to load the second one. If it still doesn't have enough memory, it's just going to give up. The game will play, but you won't have any music. So there's decisions like that, and the sound effects will also load in order, and like the ones that I think are highest priority will load first, and the ones that are lowest priority will load last. And if there's not enough memory for them, there's not enough memory for them, but the game should still play. But my other goal is just to get the damn thing done and ship it so I can go on and do something else, because it's getting on, and also some people would like to actually play it. Okay, so let's go do a demo of it, and hopefully this is going to work. I've got UAE running here. Okay, so here's UAE. I'm running this on a Mac. This does run. I have a 3000 behind me, but I don't have any video capture or anything like that, so I don't have a good way to do that. So go start it up here. This is not going to be the icon. This is an icon for a version of Rogue for the Amiga I made a while ago. But so that's still some fun left to do. Make a nice Amiga-like icon. Okay, this is Lich King running. It is using overscan, so you can see some little fluttery stuff over here. If you're running this on real hardware, this is going to kind of be off to the edge. Hopefully it won't show up, but that is, that's what the Amiga does in the edge of the area over there. Yeah, you can see the music starts right away. I'm going to do a new game. Name, this is exactly the same as it would have been on the 8-bit version, so the music just changed. There's different musical themes for different parts of the game. The title screen has one, and then the first 10 dungeon levels have another, the next 10 dungeon levels have another one, the Tinker has one, Game Over, etc. They all have different themes. You'll notice the same dungeon board thing where you have an 8-bits, where it's basically to give you something to read between the levels and maybe provide some hints while it's building the dungeon. Now, on the 68000 version, there's really nothing, there's no delay here. It's pretty much ready to generate that thing as soon as it gets here, so you can just flick through these. First thing to notice is, well, you've got the 3-line status bar at the bottom, but you'll notice that there's like color graphics. Top, the characters are still there, but they're now color. They're in fact not fonts stuff anymore. They are tiles, and we're just basically bleeding them onto the screen. The orange thing is the stairs down. You can move around with a few different key combinations, and the next thing I'm going to actually do here is make those all preference items, so you can set your own keys wherever you want to. Yeah, there's a potion. You can see there's a little sound effect for that. Gonna go to corridor. Those are some monsters. This first level, they're all kind of training monsters, so they don't hurt you much. Grab some more stuff. Weapon. It's kind of nice to see this stuff in color, actually. Okay, so the Tinker's here. I'm going to go there. Tinker is like a traveling salesman. You get one shot to work with him every level. He shows up at a random point. And so here's an example of the window. I can hit yes or enter to accept the default, or I can hit N or no for that, or I can click with my mouse. Go see him. Get a different thong for the Tinker. I can decide to buy from him, or I can sell something to him if I want to. I can sell this, which one of my potions. Going to. Anyway, I don't want to buy anything he has. Well, I would like to buy it. He's got plate mail, but I don't have enough money for that. Okay, we'll go down a floor. You get another notice board, different stuff. You can see it's basically instantly ready. When that hit spacebar to continue shows up, it means it's done plotting the next dungeon. Ooh, magic scroll. So we're gonna go and let's go use that and see what that magic scroll does. I'm just cycling through the magic items here. Okay, little animation there. I don't know if you caught it over the shield. That's the shield getting thing. That's a candidate for maybe for a new special effect. I'm not sure. Try one of these potions. That was poison. So there's a little effect, and then there's a little sound that's like a sound. One thing I have to try to get is having trouble with is just balancing the sound of the music versus the special effects. Oh no, died. All right, well there you go. That's quick demo. I didn't even get any merit badges. Sad. But in this screen, this is a 16 color 640 by 640 by 200 screen. You got to kind of just pick the palette carefully here to make it all line up. So each of the screens kind of tends to use a different palette. And then we drop back into the ham image for the title screen. Part of falling back gracefully is, I think, on a 512K Amiga 1000, this screen might not be loadable. So you might have to provide just like a really kind of basic text-only splash screen, which is kind of sad, but we'll have to see. Too early to say. All right, I'm gonna drop back out of there. All right, that was a demo. Okay, so you might be asking, when can I buy this thing? You've been talking about forever, and that I definitely feel that. My latest thing is maybe spring, hopefully. Like I said, the 8-bit platforms are done. I think the Amiga is about 75%, at least 75% done, so that's coming along really well. Honestly, the biggest thing is the packaging at this point. And so let's look what you're going to get in the package. My goal, anyway, is a floppy disk of 3.5 or 5.5, a USB stick with all the versions on it, all the 8-bit and the Amiga version on it. You get a quick reference card, and you get a kind of a joke warranty registration thing you can send in. You get a manual showing off to the right there, and then hopefully a box. And, this has proven to be the hardest part of the project, honestly. What I'm showing here is kind of a wrapper, just a mock-up wrapper I made at home over my Falcon box. And the Falcon box was just a plain white box with a bottom tray and a top lid that closed over it. It's really sturdy, and the wrapper fit over and it worked really well. Another great thing would just be a full color printed top and bottom box where the lid fits over it. You maybe wouldn't think that'd be so hard, but I just cannot get one. I've gone to a couple different local printers. They've said no. I've ordered, just like this last week, ordered another kind of boxes off Amazon that were, I guess they were like bakery baked goods show up boxes. So you kind of fold it yourself, the bottom tray, and then there's a plastic tray that's goes on it. It doesn't actually go around, it goes inside the top. Anyway, it's just too flexible. And so I was thinking, like, maybe if that was a little sturdier, that might have worked, with a wrapper around it. So I don't know. Back to the drawing board. I'm gonna look for some more. I mean, if I needed 10,000 boxes, I think that's doable. But I'm not gonna sell very many of these, and I'm just trying to, at this point, to me, it's important to have, and I would like this to be like an experience for the users and for me, having a really nice box that you would have got in the 80s or 90s. And we'll have to see how much money I lose doing that. Yep. So to-do list kind of, the box art is done, the user manual's done, the 8-bit games are done. I got the Amiga version to finish off now. The box, right? The box, I told you about the box. I need to get some more 3.5 inch and some more 5.25 inch discs. That's not a problem. My friend Ray's got a warehouse full of them. That's not a problem. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do the floppy disk for the CBM 700 or the CBM 2, so probably just have to give up on that. I need some way to sell this thing, so I need to get a website up. Yeah, and like I said, I don't know about profit. That'd be nice. Okay, so on to the next topic, OSF. So yeah, OSF was an idea I had a couple of years ago when I first heard of the Foenix line. If you want to see some more, there's some demos I did of early versions of it on kind of my first 3 Foenix dev videos on YouTube. A little screenshot from it. So the original idea was just to, for the 68K platform that was coming, let's have a file manager and an app launcher so people that make games, and then as a user, I could just go through there and have a nice way to pick them out. Maybe I have a screenshot of the game, whatever. And I wanted to have kind of to build that out. I ended up making basically a big library set for me to make the, a kind of windowed environment, and I'd like to make that available for anyone else who wanted to make for whatever reason, if you wanted to make a little desktop app, just be a good way to do it. That's basically been paused for like a year and a half because A, I don't have the hardware, and B, I started working on Lich King again. So, but recently, I would really like to get back to this now. I am fairly certain my machine's is coming up pretty high now in the assembly factory over there at Phoenix Land. So that's another reason I want to get the Lich King stuff out of the way and done so that I can, when my A2560K does come, I can devote time to it. So I've changed the vision of it a little bit. There's a little bit pie in the sky, but this is what I'd like to do. Is I'd like to have like a miniature graphical OS sitting on top of a really good disk operating system. So not something kind of loosely linked like, where it starts up like Linux or Unix, where you start it up and then if you want the, X Windows, you do them and it's all kind of, slow and clearly not, I don't know, not a consistent feeling. So I'm going for something more like, when OS X launched, hopefully not quite as slow as that, but who knows, where you really have a full Unix underneath it, but you're not going to mistake it for, you're not going to mistake the OS 10, interface for like a optional thing, right? It's all integrated. So more than a file launcher, but then also no intention, no way of making it a full blown modern OS. I mean, these are, this is the 68,000 machine, so doesn't need to be multi-user. Doesn't need memory protection. I wish it could, but I don't think we get MMU support in this machine. You don't need printer support, obviously. Probably can't do internet. Even if we had it, I mean, like someone's going to write a browser for a machine with just a few users? No. But, a port of Gopher or Gemini, some basic FTP program links, that would be fun. Need an SSL library. But again, those things do exist for platforms like the Amiga, and they might be portable. And again, going back to the, I'd like to have something where someone who wants to make their own apps, maybe wants to see what it was like to do app development in the 80s and 90s, could come in there, feel pretty comfortable about building a windowed app with basically a similar set of tools you would got from a classic Mac system or an Amiga system. I don't know much about the Ataris, but I think this would, who knows, right? But more in the sense of more like Windows or I don't know, Windows, but more free than Mac. There's not going to be a memory manager with those stupid handles. It'll be more classic C development or C++. So some options for that I'm trying to think of is, MCP is this little micro operating system that's on the A2560. It's just, it's a kind of a screen editor situation with a light kind of DOS. So I could just try to keep running on top of that, which is what the demos do right now. The advantage is, I just have to worry about the GUI part. The kind of challenges there is that if you even want to start it up, the user has to, basically turn on the machine, then do it. And it's just not quite the environment I was looking for. They also have to know it. And then once an app is launched and takes over, when they're done, there's no way to get back to anything, right? You have to reset the machine and you get back to the MCP again, and the command line sitting there waiting for you to type something. I could basically subsume the entire, the parts of MCP I need or care about into OSFF and take over that part, like, the keyboard detection and mouse detection, stuff like that. Advantage of that is, I could start it up right to a graphical interface. When you got done running it, just think of it's single tasking, right? Then you reset your machine and bang, you'd be back there, right? Disadvantages is people would have to install it over MCP on machines shipped with MCP on them. That's not terrible. People with Foenix get used to flashing stuff, but another one is maybe MCP is a pretty lightweight thing, so there'd be a lot of stuff that I'd probably want to offer, which just MCP doesn't have any concept of yet. So that's two options. Another one is to take like a legacy OS that someone has already made and it's nice and beautiful and robust, and port it, and then add my stuff as a GUI layer on top. So some possibilities there. One is OS 9. So OS 9 is this thing that was originally made for the 6809 machines. It was in the late 70s. Anyway, it was on the Radio Shack computers, Cocos and stuff. Apparently, I've never actually seen it used ever, and it's I can't even find I can't even get like an emulated environment for it. But what I've been reading about it sounds great, sounds fantastic. It's kind of like I would say it's a little bit of a lighter weight than Linux, because it doesn't try to do, it is multi-user, but it's nothing like it's super heavy, like it's kind of minimal services, and it's got ideas about memory protection and stuff like that. So, or at least memory management. The problem is it's not open source, and it has not been ported to Foenix, but maybe it's going to be. I don't know. Some talk going on. Maybe we'll have to pay for it. I don't know. Emutos, I don't know how to say it. That's another option. Maybe that's an open source C-based OS. It's a replacement for the Atari TOS that came with the Atari STs. Really small. I think it fits into 120K chip. It's interesting to me from a historical point of view because it's based on GEM and came out to do research and what could have been, right? My approach to it would be to basically get the lower level stuff from it and then just throw away the GUI layer and do my own. Like the GUI layer talks like it doesn't even, you can't do like proportional fonts or anything like that. So it's not exactly my cup of tea. It's cool though, I have to say. So side note, there's a couple people actually, A2560, who've been working on an Emutos port for a while. Their goals a little differently. They want to be able to run Atari ST graphic apps right on Foenix hardware, which, if they're well behaving, that if they get Emutos going right, it should work. Also comes with the C compiler, so you can compile right on your machine, which is also nice. There's Mint, which I really don't know much about other than it's somehow related to Emutos. It's multitasking. It's where Emutos is unitasking. Don't know. I'm gonna have to learn more about it. I think it's also C, written in C though. And then the last option maybe that I've come across is, well, aside from some embedded missile software, is Eros. Maybe particularly the Apollo OS port of it. This is the Amiga replacement OS thing. It's been around forever, but it was originally written, I think, to run on x86, but no, there's a 68K branch of it now, or it's in the build mix there. It's C-based. I think I was going to do that. My goal would be to keep just the minimum, whatever the minimum code I thought I could get away with, dump everything else, especially dump all the graphical stuff, because that's where the part I enjoy, which would be the graphical layer, the GUI layer, and also the kind of the file manager, or the finder, or the explorer, whatever you want to call it for your name for it. I'm not sure about this one. That's it's a pretty complex. There's a lot of code there. And it's designed to be compatible with Amiga OS, and no one's going to buy a Foenix just to try to run Amiga on it. I mean, there's like 8 billion other ways you can run Amigas, including all the Vampire stuff, which is where Apollo OS comes from. I love Amiga OS. I'm a huge fan, but if I was going to do a new thing from the start, I don't think I would start with all that baggage. So I don't know, but it's an option. So too early to say where it's going to go. If you have any ideas, anyone interested in doing some collaboration, reach out, let me know. Hey, we'll see what happens. All right, that's it, folks. Thank you. Yeah, have a good one.